Welcome to Mayhem cedh, where questionable decks meet questionable pilots. For this week, we're jamming some Lord of the Rings to find out who the best Middle-earth commander is. With that being said, let's check out the pod today. First, we have Evan on Sauron Fires of Mordor, a Grixis deck that seeks to use its commander to generate advantage, pressure and control other players, and win with tried and true Grixis combo. Josh on Aragorn's Feast, a food chain deck that uses the Sans Black card advantage engines to quickly find either a Cloudstone Curio or food chain line and win by burnout. Jack on Saruman of Many Counters, an Esper mid-range deck that seeks to outvalue its opponents and grind its way into a Thassa's Oracle line. And finally, Pilch on Gandalf Artifacts Go Zap Zam Zoomer Styler, a secret commander Teshar deck that seeks to use Gandalf as the glue that holds mono-white mid-range together, double up on ETB and death triggers, and win with an artifact loop. And now, with each pilot in their respective corner of the screen, let us begin. And for those of you in the Ames area, stick around to find out how you can get 10% off your next Mayhem Ames purchase. Jack draws, plays a Tundra, and passes. Pilch draws, plays a Mishra's Workshop, an Ecor Wellspring, drawing a card, and passes. Evan draws, puts a Blood Crypt into play untapped, paying 2 life, a Soul Ring, Talisman of Creativity, and also passes. Josh draws, plays a Command Tower, a Crow Mox, Imprinting Lightning Bolt, and passes. Jack draws, plays a Scrubland, a Soul Ring, Ledger Shredder, and passes. Pilch draws, plays a Cavern of Souls, naming Wizard, a Filigree Familiar, gaining 2 life when it enters, and at the end of turn, Josh exiles a green card from his hand to cast Force of Vigor, targeting Jack and Evan's Soul Rings. In response, Evan pays a life and exiles a blue card from his hand to cast Force of Will, countering Force of Vigor. Then, the turn moves to Evan. Evan draws, plays an Ancient Tomb, and at the end of turn, Josh casts Enlightened Tutor, fetching up a Sylvan Library to the top of his library. The turn moves to Josh.
You could have let both your Soul Rings die.
No, I couldn't.
It's a fair trade.
You really could have.
No, I couldn't.
You played an Ancient Tomb.
Positive elixir trade. He did follow up with an Ancient Tomb.
Listen here, Jack. I have plans for this mana.
Josh draws, plays Sylvan Library, and passes. Jack draws, puts a Hallowed Fountain in play untapped, paying 2 life, and moves to combat, attacking Evan with Shredder. Evan takes the hit, and Jack passes. Pilch draws, plays an Arid Mesa, and a Mox Amber, with Jack conniving through Shredder. Pilch cracks his Arid Mesa, paying a life, fetching up a Plains, and plays Loran of the Third Path, destroying Evan's Soul Ring when it enters. He follows it up with Portable Hole, exiling Jack's Soul Ring when it enters. With Jack and Evan very sad, Pilch passes. Evan draws, longs for Soul Ring, and passes. Josh draws 3 and keeps 3 through Sylvan Library, losing 8 life. He plays a Polluted Delta, a Noble Hierarch, and passes. Really playing around the Shredder, or you just have nothing else?
Probably.
Little A, little B.
Jack draws, puts a Godless Shrine into play untapped, paying 2 life, and moves to combat, attacking Josh with Shredder. Josh takes the hit, and Jack passes. You know, if I had
nothing
a nickel
else
for every time I piloted an Esper mid-range throw together pile on and the best card from this set, commander from this set is, I have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but how has this happened twice now? Because I piloted Marnie as Caldar.
Glittering.
Evan draws, plays a Crow Mox, Imprinting Reanimate, and casts his commander, Sauron the Dark Lord, with Jack conniving through Shredder. In response, Jack casts Mana Drain, countering Sauron. At the end of turn, Josh cracks his Polluted Delta, paying a life and fetching up a Breeding Pool onto the battlefield tap. The turn moves to Josh.
Put it in your command.
Put it in your command zone.
No, that's fine.
No,
put it in your
command zone.
Evan, put it in your
If you
command
draw
the
like
goddamn plan.
If you draw Jewel Lotus,
Evan,
fine.
you pitched your Reanimated.
Oh yeah, I did do
It's
that.
exile too.
I did do that. You got me there.
I'm just trying to help.
We're just trying to help you.
We're
We're
just
your
like-
friends. Evan, we're your friends.
I understand we tricked you into cracking your LED.
Yeah, well, he cracked the LED with the Gamble in the stack. We're like, you know, are you gonna get nods with that and then hold priority and crack LED? He's like, oh!
MA says cedh has no room for politics. Josh draws 3 and keeps 2 through Sylvan Library, losing 4 life. He plays an Arcane Signet and passes. Jack draws and adds 6 mana through Mana Drain. He plays on Marsh Flats, cracking it, paying a life, fetching up an Underground Sea, and casts his commander, Saruman of Many Colors. He follows it up with Grand Abolisher. Shredder and Saruman trigger, and in response, Pilch flashes in his commander, Gandalf the White, and flashes in Junk Diver, with Jack conniving through Shredder. Still in response, Pilch activates Loran, with himself and Evan both drawing. Then, Jack connives through Shredder, and his opponent's mill too, with Jack casting Josh's Enlightened Tutor from his graveyard through Saruman, fetching up a Smothering Tithe to the top of his deck. Realizing he should have stacked the triggers differently, Jack moves to combat, attacking Josh with Shredder. Josh takes the hit, and Jack passes. Pilch draws, plays Annex Sentry, holds priority, and activates Loran, with himself and Evan drawing a card. Then, Pilch exiles Ledger Shredder with Sentry. He moves to combat, attacking Evan with Familiar and Josh with Junk Diver. Both take the hits, and Pilch passes. Evan draws and pays 5 life to help cast Toxic Deluge, where X equals 5, destroying all creatures, with Pilch drawing 2 through Filigree Familiar and returning Familiar into his hand through Junk Diver. Evan follows it up with Mana Crypt, with Jack conniving through Shredder, Dark Ritual adding 3 black, and Underworld Breach. In response, Josh casts Swan Song, countering it and giving Evan a 2/2 bird. When attempt thwarted, Evan plays Imperial Seal, fetching up a card to the top of his deck, losing 2 life, and at the end of turn, Josh casts Worldly Tutor, fetching up a Drannith Magistrate to the top of his deck. The turn moves to Josh. Josh draws 3 and keeps 2 through Sylvan Library, losing 4 life, plays Drannith Magistrate, and an Esper Sentinel, with Jack conniving through Shredder. Josh passes. Jack draws, plays an Underground River, and Rhystic Study, paying for Josh's Sentinel. In response, Pilch casts Enlightened Tutor, paying for Josh's Sentinel, fetching up Heliod, Sun's Crown, to the top of his library. Then, Jack moves to combat, attacking Pilch with Shredder. Pilch takes the hit, and Jack passes. Pilch draws, plays Heliod, Sun's Crown, not paying for Jack's Rhystic, and Walking Ballista, where X equals 2, not paying for Jack's Rhystic, with Jack conniving through Shredder. In response, Jack casts Chain of Vapor, not paying for Josh's Sentinel, bouncing Heliod back to Pilch's hand, with Pilch not continuing the chain. When attempt stopped, Pilch plays an Aethersworn Canonist, not paying for Jack's Rhystic, and passes. At the beginning of his upkeep, Evan wins his Mana Crypt trigger. He draws, takes no game actions, and passes. Josh draws 3 and keeps 1 through Sylvan Library. He casts his commander, Aragorn the Uniter, paying for Jack's Rhystic, and at the end of turn, Jack casts Enlightened Tutor, not paying for Josh's Sentinel, fetching up a Touch the Spirit Realm to the top of his library. Still at end step.
I'm passing.
Yeah! I'm passing.
I'm passing.
You just flipped like a different card.
Evan flips Verdant Catacombs, Rhystic Study, Brainstorm, Wheel of Misfortune, Dress Down, Talisman of Dominance.
Do you want to count? Do you want to count how much damage is on table right now?
He's keeping track. I mean,
Well, no.
you're gonna die
Guys,
to combat.
Okay, so there's 4, 6, 8 damage on table. Just letting you know. So
look, dude, I gotta keep going for something. I hate garbage.
Mana Confluence, An Offer You Can't Refuse, Command Tower, Talisman of Indulgence, Underground Sea, Flusterstorm, Watery Grave, Muddle the Mixture, Jessica's Will, and Ledger Shredder.
One more.
One more. Dockside Death.
Let's go! We broke Dockside!
Literally Gusto! I hit no fast mana.
You hit Dockside! What are you talking about?
You know what? You got me there.
So anyways, my turn.
Jack draws, plays Boromir, Warden of the Tower, and moves to combat, attacking Josh with Shredder. Josh takes the hit, and Jack passes. Pilch draws and plays Lightning Greaves, paying for Josh's Sentinel and Jack's Rhystic. He equips Greaves to Canonist, plays Filigree Familiar, paying for Jack's Rhystic, with Jack conniving through Shredder, and Pilch gaining 2 life when it enters. Pilch passes. Josh draws 3 and keeps 1 through Sylvan Library. He sacrifices Sentinel to help cast Altar of Bone, creating a 1/1 soldier and giving Aragorn +4/+4 through Aragorn, fetching up a Spellseeker into his hand. He moves to combat, attacking Jack with Aragorn. Jack takes the hit, and Josh passes. Jack draws and moves to combat, attacking Josh with Shredder. Josh takes the hit, and Jack passes. Pilch draws, plays a Crystal Vein, and passes. Josh draws 3 and keeps 2 through Sylvan Library, losing 4 life. He plays a Volcanic Island, and preparing to defend his life total, passes. Jack draws, plays an Aaron Mesa, and moves to combat, attacking Pilch with Shredder. Pilch takes the hit, and at the end of turn, Pilch activates Ballista. In response, Josh overloads a Cyclonic Rift. In response, Pilch removes a counter from Ballista, pinging Josh. Then, Josh's opponent's non-land permanents are all returned to their hands, and the turn moves to Pilch. Pilch draws, plays Portable Hole, exiling Drannith Magistrate, Jeweled Lotus, and recasts his commander, Gandalf the White. He follows it up with Aethersworn Canonist, Ichor Wellspring, drawing 2 when it enters, plays a Plains, and passes. Josh draws 3 and keeps 1 through Sylvan, plays a Spellseeker, scrying 2 through Aragorn and fetching up a Chain of Vapor into his hand, and at the end of turn, Jack cracks his Aaron Mesa, paying a life, and fails to find. Taking the free shuffle, the turn moves to Jack. Jack draws, plays a Lotus Petal, and Rhystic Study. In response, Josh casts Intuition, targeting Jack, fetching up a Savine's Reclamation, Squee the Immortal, and Underworld Breach. Jack gives Josh Squee, and the rest go to his graveyard. Still in response, Pilch flashes in a Grim Monolith. Then, Rhystic Study resolves, and Jack passes. Pilch draws, plays an Arcbound Ravager, paying for Jack's Rhystic, Filigree Familiar, paying for Jack's Rhystic, gaining 4 life when it enters, and sacrifices it to Ravager, putting a +1/+1 counter on Ravager, and drawing 2 through Familiar. He plays his own Boromir, Warden of the Tower, not paying for Jack's Rhystic, and at the end of turn, Josh casts Chain of Vapor, not paying for Jack's Rhystic, scrying 2 through Aragorn, bouncing Gandalf back to Pilch's hand. Pilch chooses not to continue the chain, and the turn moves to Josh. Josh draws 3 and keeps 1 through Sylvan, and plays Ranger Captain of Eos, creating a 1/1 soldier through Aragorn, paying for Jack's Rhystic. In response, Jack casts Path to Exile, sending Aragorn back to the command zone, with Josh failing to find. Then, Ranger Captain resolves, Josh fetches up a Birds of Paradise to his hand, and passes. Jack draws, plays Ledger Shredder, a Grim Monolith conniving through Shredder. At the end of turn, Pilch flashes in a Cathar Commando, not paying for Jack's Ristic. The turn moves to Pilch. Pilch draws, plays a Mox Opal, recasts his commander, Gandalf the White, paying for Jack's Ristic, with Jack conniving through Shredder, and sacrifices Igor Wellspring to Arcbound Ravager, putting a +1/+1 counter on Ravager and drawing 2 through Wellspring. He plays a Springleaf Drum, paying for Ristic, Lightning Greaves, paying for Ristic, and equips Greaves to Gandalf. I have not had this much card advantage in months.
Maybe stop playing shortcut.
I did! That's why I haven't had this much card advantage in months! He moves to combat, attacking Jack with Gandalf and Ravager. Jack takes the hit, and Pilch passes. Josh draws 3 and keeps 1 through Sylvan, recasts his commander, Aragorn the Uniter, not paying for Jack's Ristic, and passes.
You can pay for it. I sure can.
Jack plays an Imperial Seal, fetching up a card to the top of his library and losing 2 life, and passes. Pilch draws, plays a Plains, and Silence, not paying for Jack's Ristic. In response, Josh hard casts Mental Misstep, not paying for Jack's Ristic, countering Silence.
Well, Jack, it's up to you now.
I'm working on it.
What do you mean you're working on it? Move to combat.
I mean what I mean.
Jack. Bye, Jack.
I'm gonna overload my own sacred.
Oh my god!
What else did I have?
Jesus.
What else did I have? This is the only thing that could have saved me. In response, Pilch sacrifices Cathar Commando, destroying Jack's Ristic Study. Then, all of Jack's opponent's non-land permanents are bounced to their hands.
Someone win.
Oh, let's
Can someone please win?
We're trying!
Anything else, Jack?
That's it.
I gotta go home soon.
We're trying. We are trying.
I also need to go home.
We are honest to God trying.
doing-
Pilch plays a Mox Opal with Jack conniving through Shredder, Mox Amber, Soul Ring, Springleaf Drum, Grim Monolith, and Aethersworn Canonist. In response, Jack casts Mindbreak Trap, exiling Canonist. Pilch follows it up with a Boromir, Warden of the Tower, and passes. Josh draws and casts Food Chain. In response, Jack casts Swan Song, countering it and giving Josh a 2/2 bird. Josh follows it up with an Arcane Signet with Jack conniving through Shredder, Birds of Paradise, and at the end of turn, Jack casts Vampiric Tutor, fetching up a card to the top of his deck and losing 2 life. The turn moves to Jack. Jack draws and casts Silence. It resolves, and he follows it up with Thassa's Oracle, conniving through Shredder, and Demonic Consultation. My God!
What are you naming?
What?
What are you naming?
Abandon Hope.
Is it in there?
No.
Because it's in your colors.
It is in my colors, it's not in the deck. The table sees the writing on the wall, and Jack wins the game. For those of you in the Ames area who stuck around, come to Mayhem Comics in Ames this week and ask for the YouTube discount. You'll be asked the question, who won? Answer correctly and get 10% off your purchase. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to catch future videos, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.